Verse 100, Sri Vishnu Sahasranaama Stotra. Anantarupo Nantashrihi Jitamanyuhu Bhayapaha Chaturashro Gabhiratma Vidisho Vyadisho Dishaha Anantarupaha Anantashrihi Jitamanyuhu Bhayapaha Chaturashro Gabhiratma Vidishaha Vyadishaha Dishaha Anantarupaha, one with infinite forms. Anantashrihi, one with infinite power, wealth, prosperity, vibhuti, and whatnot. Jitamanyuhu, one who has subdued wrath, one who does not know what anger is. Bhayapahaha, destroyer of fear. Chaturashraha, the just. Gabhiratma, the immeasurable self. Vidishaha, he is a bestower of diverse and valuable fruits desired by the devotees. Vyadishaha, he positions persons, even the deities, creator Brahma himself, in various positions and gives them various commands. Dishaha, one who is showing or giving fruits of actions. Anantarupaha, one with infinite forms. The endless varieties of form constituting the world of objects are all nothing but projections in the Supreme. In essence, they are all nothing but the Supreme Himself. For example, all the objects in a dream are nothing but the creation of the single mind of the waker. They are created in the dream, they exist in the dream, and they all vanish when the dream is over and the person wakes up. They are seen as many only in the dream plane of consciousness. As we know, the human being exists in three planes: wakefulness, dream, and the deep sleep state. Only when he comes out of all these three, transcends all these three, he will be able to reach the fourth level, which is called Turiya, which is called the state of knowledge. Similarly, the world of objects, emotions, and thoughts, all this can be understood as nothing different from the Supreme Narayana consciousness. The Supreme, having infinite forms, is also having infinite power and infinite glories. He is called Ananta Shrihi. One, he is full of infinite glories, incomparable powers. The world arises because of the Lord's Ichha Shakti, Gnana Shakti, and Kriya Shakti. The world, what we see, the objects which we see in the world are all expressions of His glory in our physical, mental, and intellectual states, intellectual levels. These are our manifestations of His powers and their continuous interplay. Because of this continuous interplay of these powers of the Supreme, it together weaves into the beautiful fabric of the dynamic expression, what we call the Vishwam, the universe. The Self, the Mahavishnu, is the one springboard for all these vibrant aspects of life which we see around us. He, the omniscient, all knowing, is called one of infinite forms, Anantashrihi. Now, the Supreme is Paripurna. He is fully satisfied. All his desires are self fulfilled. He has no other desires. Since he has no desires as such, there is no scope for anger in him. So he is said to be the person who has conquered the anger. Jitamanyuhu, one who has subdued anger, one who has conquered anger. Anger, as we know, is one of the most powerful, overpowering enemies within us. One who has conquered anger is one who is established in his own purity. The anger and desire, the interrelation, has been beautifully brought out in verse 62, chapter 2, Sankhya Yoga of Srimad Bhagavad Gita. It says, Dhyayato Vishayan Pumsaha Sangasteshu Pajayate. Dhyayatah. That means for a person who keeps on thinking of objects. Dhyayatah Vishayan Pumsaha Sangaha Teshu Upajayate. Attachment in them arises. If we keep on musing and thinking of any object, naturally we develop a sort of attachment in them. And this attachment leads to desire. Sangat sanjayate kamaha. This musing on the objects leads to sangaha, attachment. From sangaha, sangat sanjayate kamaha. From attachment arises desire. Now, now we come to the dangerous step. Kamat krodha abhijayate. From desire, anger arises. How does it arise? From a desire which is not fulfilled, we get anger. We get anger towards any object or a person or a situation which is coming in the way of fulfillment of this desire of ours. Dhyayato pumsa, dhyayato vishayan pumsaha, sangasteshu pajayate, sangat sanjayate kamaha, kamat krodho vijayate. Now the self is all full, paripurna. It cannot feel, it cannot have any further need, want, or desire. When it is free from need, want, and desire, it automatically there is no scope for anger arising, because anger arises only from a unfulfilled desire. Now the Supreme is destroyer of fear in the beings. Bhaya pahaha, destroyer of fear. What is the greatest fear? Our greatest fear is the fear of the world, fear of samsaric life, desire of fear of being born again and again in this mortal world, to go through the chain of suffering. So the person who, the supreme being, is the one who removes this fear of being born again and again. Naturally, Lord Narayana is one sure harbor wherein the boats of life, which are tossed mercilessly on the high seas of passions, they can find their calm, peace, and total security. He's called Bhaya Pahaha. Now, in protecting the virtuous or punishing the evil, or it can be same one and same person. In the same person, sometimes virtue comes up, sometimes the evil props up. In protecting or punishing the beings, the Supreme is eminently just and impartial. So it's called Chaturashraha. Chaturashraha. Chaturashraha means actually literally a square, a geometrical square of equal sides. A rectangle with equal sides is called a square. So what we try to mean is he deals everybody justly and squarely without being unfair to anybody, absolutely impartial, reasonable. So Narayana distributes the results of action equally, appropriately to all. But actually, what each one gets is exact reward for one's own previous actions. Thus, Narayana bestows justly and squarely upon all. He is called Chaturashraha. But his action of, say, rescuing Gajendra and simultaneously killing the Makara. How do you explain this? How do you understand this? The only way to understand this is that this is in keeping with their past deeds and also the larger divine scheme of things. Normally, these are beyond our ordinary understanding. So Supreme becomes one of immeasurable self. We cannot understand him easily. Gabhira Atma. Gabhira Atma. Gabhira Atma means immeasurable self. One who in his real nature is too deep to be understood, too deep to be fathomed by the frail instrument of our mind. Our limited mind, our limited intellect cannot comprehend this. Depth here indicates the profoundness. The supreme essence pervading the universe is unfathomably profound in its significance and glory. It is too deep and too complex for ordinary mortals to understand. So we say the Supreme is Gabhiratma, immeasurable self. And this Supreme Self becomes the bestower of diverse fruits, fruits of actions, Vidishaha, one who is unique in his giving. He is divinely liberal, magnificently benevolent in fulfilling the earnest desires of all his true devotees. However, one word of caution, however, what each gets is maybe different. However, what each gets is what he or she truly deserves, not just what they may desire. I may desire anything, I may plead for anything, I may beg for anything, but Supreme will only give to me what I really deserve based on my past actions. What those past actions are, what those actions are of me in my previous births, certainly I cannot understand. You have to leave to the Supreme, He will take care because He is Chaturashraha, extremely just and fair. He is called Vyadishaha. He is the one who gives positions even to the deities, the Supreme Brahma, all the Dikpalakas, even Lord Yama. All these are placed in their respective positions with clear cut assignments, their duty list, their powers, what they can do, what they cannot do, how they should discharge their duties. All these are clearly mandated by the Supreme Parabrahman. So he is the one, he gives all commands, and none of them will dare to disobey these commands. So he say he is the one who orders even phenomenal powers like the deities and the gods. He is also the giver of fruits of actions, and he is a giver of guidance, showing the direction. He is called, therefore called Dishaha. Dishaha means one who gives and fruits of actions, gives knowledge. He is the one who shows direction. He is the author of the Vedas, nay, the very theme and essence of the Vedas. The Narayana in the form of Shruti text means Vedas, Vedangas, Upanishads, epics, all these things. He has given us knowledge of the self to the individuals. It is for us to grasp from this and benefit ourselves and raise ourselves to a higher plane. Om Asatoma Sadgamaya Tamasoma Jyotirgamaya Mrutyorma Amrutangamaya. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti.